Welcome to this presentation on the basics of using Vocabulary Spelling City. Each of you should have received an email with your Vocabulary Spelling City information. If you didn't receive that email, please reach out to me so that I can make sure that you have what you need in order to learn the basics of Vocabulary Spelling City. Let's get started. Today's agenda will give us an overview of the teacher dashboard in Vocabulary Spelling City. We will cover list management, which is how to import a list and how to create your own list from scratch. And we'll cover how to create an assignment for your students with multiple activities. And then hopefully you will have time at the end to play around in Vocabulary Spelling City. To get started, you're going to want to open your browser and navigate to www.spellingcity.com, and then you can either use your Google account information or you can type in your GLS email with your Google account password into the boxes, but the most important thing is that you choose the blue box educator/admin and then click sign in. Also, you should note that the first time you log in, Spelling City will show you a quick start guide that gives you an overview on a number of things. I have already added your students, so you do not need to add your students. I've already assigned your students to you, so you should have all of your students ready to go under the My Students tab. You do not need to import your group classes from Google Classroom because I've already done all that for you. Please check your rosters out under the My Students tab in your dashboard. If you are missing any students, you can either add them yourselves, but if you have a problem with doing that, just reach out. I'll be glad to help you with it. You will find it pretty fast to get set up using Vocabulary Spelling City. The first time you log in, your dashboard will have the options of create a list or the import list, the green buttons you see on the left of this slide. You'll also have the option to create an assignment. But in order to create an assignment, you have to have created or imported a list. After the first time, you will use the dashboard tabs of list management to create and import a list, or assignments to create an assignment. There's also other options in the tabs. There's a grading and records tab, and there's a My Students tab where you can set up student groups and other exciting and fun things in Vocabulary Spelling City that you should certainly take some time to investigate. Managing your lists is really easy. You're going to click on Create a List, and a screen will open up to give your list a name. You can add the names singly or in a batch, and then click Save. Importing a list, there's 3 different options. You can import another user's list, you can import lists from different reading programs, and you can import lists from the teaching resources that Vocabulary Spelling City has built in. Let's watch a couple videos that will show you the exact steps on how to do these things. This video is going to show you how to create your own list in Vocabulary Spelling City. First thing you'll need to do is make sure that you are logged into your Vocabulary Spelling City account. And so then once you are logged in, and you're in the dashboard, you will want to click on List Management over on the right. And then click on Create a List. You'll need to name your list. And then you can add a description if you'd like. You can choose the settings for your list. there's 3 different settings you can choose. The visibility, so you can choose whether you want your list public, private, some visibility to select students. You can decide whether you want it shared with only teachers, and you can just choose for it not to be visible at all. You can choose the word order of your list. So you can have the list appear as you enter it. You can have it appear in alphabetical order, or you could have it just appear in a random order each time the student uses the list. Then you can set the grade level. And so I'm going to choose 6th grade for this list. Underneath the settings, you can either enter the words one at a time. By clicking on each line, you could add 1 more line if you only had 1 more word, or 5 more lines if you had 5 more words. And you could add individual words 5 at a time to the list. If you have a long list, you can use batch entry. And so you would click on batch entry, and then you could put the words in separated by commas or on individual lines. So I've created a list that I'm going to use for this, so I'm just going to go grab it, copy and paste into the batch entry. Once my words are in there, I'm going to click save. You can see that my title, my list name, my list description, and all my settings appear at the top, and then now I'm going to verify my words. So I'm going to look at each word in my list and make sure that the definition and the sentence are there, so that the games and the quizzing that the student will be using when you assign this list work. All right, so the first word was earthquake, and the entry is shaking of the Earth's surface, and then the sentence, it tells me part of speech, and the sentence is the earthquake moved the ground like water in waves. So I'm okay with that definition sentence combo. So I'm going to move on and look at the next one. For focus, it says central point or concentration. That is not what the focus when it comes to earthquakes means. And so I'm going to click on the alternates and see if the alternate is in there. A state of clarity or distinctness, no. The point beneath Earth's surface where rock first breaks under stress and causes an earthquake. That is the definition that I want, so I'm going to select it. It is a noun, and the sentence is, the earthquake begins at the focus. That is okay with me, so I'm going to click save and go on to epicenter, surface point above an earthquake's focus. A noun, and the earthquake was felt up to 100 miles. That it looks good to me. So now moving on to surface wave, you can see that this is a word that's in red, and so that means that the sentence is missing either the definition or the sentence or the part of speech. The word is missing that, so I'm going to click on Add It Now. And if you know the definition off the top of your head, you can go ahead and just enter it in there. I'm going to pop back over to my list and find the definition that I have for a surface wave and go copy and paste it into Spelling City there. Surface wave is a noun, and then I need a sentence, and I created a sentence as well as I was preparing for this, and so I'm going to go grab my sentence by copying and pasting into the sentence field. Now, one thing you'll note is if you don't use the word in the sentence, then Vocabulary Spelling City will not like that. Even if I were to make it plural, so if my sentence said surface waves, a Vocabulary Spelling City would not like that. So it has to be the same tense, and the word has to be in the sentence. So once I have my definition, my part of speech, and my sentence, I can click Save Changes. see that I have my list done. My 8 words are here with their definitions, their part of speech, and their sentence. If I had more words to add, I could add them one at a time using add a word, or I could add them in a batch entry if I had a lot of words to continue adding to my list. I'm done now, so I'm just going to click save. Notice I could click save and assign, and that would just, if I was ready to assign this list to my students, then that would take me directly to making an assignment. But for right now, I'm just going to click save. This next video will show you step by step how to import a list from the various import options in Vocabulary Spelling City. Now I'm going to show you how to import a list. So importing a list, if you're doing it for the first time, you just logged into Vocabulary Spelling City, you would click on Import a List in the middle of your dashboard. And there's a few different options for importing a list. It lands right on search word lists, and so here you can just put a search criteria, and different word lists with that search criteria will show. You can also search for a word list by teacher or by a parent. So if you know if a parent happened to use Vocabulary City to import some vocabulary words for a unit you were covering, you could search for that list and use it for your whole class. And then you can search by school. So if you wanted to see what other lists teachers in Grass Lake School had, you could put our zip code or the school name. Or if you know of another school that, for instance, is using Reading Horizons, which is what our primary teachers use for reading, because Reading Horizons is not listed under the reading programs for Spelling City, you might search a school to see if another teacher had put in Reading Horizons. So let's go ahead and do a search by just words, and I'm going to put Reading Horizons in the word search and see what pops up. So you can see here, just by putting the name of the reading program in, a number of lists come up, and so this one looks interesting. It's MCW1, and that's for pre-K. So here's all the Reading Horizons lists. So let's go ahead and look at one that's up here, maybe number 4. So I can view the list before I import it to make sure it's what I want. And then if this list looks like one that I want to use, I can import it. Notice that once I import a list, I have the option of editing the list, or I can also create an assignment right from here. Right now I'm just going to close that window and go back to my dashboard, show you a couple of things. First of all, my dashboard has changed. I don't have create or import a list in that center section anymore. So to get back to my lists, I can go under this tab at the left to Teacher Tools and go to List Management. So then you can see I have there's where the list is that I just imported. Notice that once a list is imported, I can edit it in this dashboard. I can put it in a group, so I can group my students. I can duplicate it if I need to. I can assign it from here. I can share it with another teacher. I can look at a number of different things. I can change the word order. So there's a lot of things you can do here from list management. Notice that under list management, I can create a new list. I can create a list group. So a list group is just, I can put my students into groups and give them each a different list. I can create a review list. And then I can allow my students to create their own lists if I want to. And I could import more lists from here. Notice that also over here, I can click watch video. So help from Spelling City is always available in your dashboard. And I can click watch video and it can give me a quick review of how to create and import lists as well. Now I want to show you a couple other things under import lists. So from your list management page, if you click the down arrow next to import lists, we're going to search other users' lists. And in this box at the top of your screen, we're going to make sure we're searching by list name. And then I'm going to click the advanced search option, because then I can decide which grades I want this for. So if I can also show what time period, and you can default to any time, or if you want a newer list, just select an option there. Here you could say if you wanted a teacher or parent list, and you can leave that blank. And then you can also search by school type, public, private, charter, etc. So it might just say middle school because I've selected the grades here. And then you got to have a search criteria. So I'm going to say digital citizenship because that's something we should be working on all the time. So then you click search, and for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and middle school school types, there's a couple of lists about digital citizenship. If I want to broaden my search, I'm going to just take out the type of school and then search again to see if I get more hits, which I do. You can see here I got a couple more hits. So let's say I wanted digital citizenship for 8th grade and it's words for the internet. I'm going to click view to see if I like that list. That looks like a pretty good list. So then I close that and I can click import. So you can see how you can customize the search for importing lists. All right, so let's go back. I want to show you import lists from teaching resources. All right, so under teaching resources, you can choose your grade level, the vocabulary, academic vocabulary, content area vocabulary, and there's other options to search these lists. So I'm going to choose grade level to start with, and you can see that a whole bunch of things come up over here, but grade level lists, if I'm looking for a list for kindergarten, I can click kindergarten lists. And then you can scroll down. Here's some spelling. You can click different vocabulary content areas, so you can choose where you want to go. So if I'm looking for a math kindergarten list, counting and cardinality comparison. So let's say that looks good. We're going to import that list. We can import the whole group. So if this whole group of comparison, counting, grouping, money, and sequence looks like a list that would work for you, you can import the whole group. And once I input our whole group, that makes it available to your students. But if I want to hide it until I'm ready to assign it, then I would click hide group from students, and that's what I'm going to do. So what does that look like in my dashboard? Let's go back to list management and see. So you can see now I have this whole group of kindergarten counting and cardinality list, and I can go through and I can edit the list, I can assign it, I can delete it. All those options are there. I can group it. So I'm going to edit it so I can see what's on this list. So it gives me the list of words, definitions in the sentence. And just like when you created your own list, and Vocabulary Spelling City gave you options for definitions, you can edit each one of these. So you can see this one has 4 alternatives. I can click there and decide which one I feel is best for my students and select it. Of great size, number, or strength has a couple of entries because there's a couple of different sentences to go with it. So if you decide a large size and wet is too dry, as small is too big is a good sentence, you can save those changes and just go through each word and adjust it to what you feel would fit. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please let me know, and just log into Vocabulary Spelling City and play around with it. It's a great tool that can be used both in person and in a remote situation for your classroom. Have a great day. I hope you can see that creating your own lists and importing lists in Spelling City is very simple. If you need assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be glad to help. This next video will show you in just a few clicks how to create an assignment with fun activities for your students to learn vocabulary and spelling. Regardless of the topic or the subject, their learning is gamified, and so it will be engaging. Okay, we're going to learn how to create an assignment in Vocabulary Spelling City. And I just want to remind you that before you create an assignment, you have to either create a list or import a list from another source. So I'm assuming you already did that, and now you're ready to create an assignment using the list that you created for your students. So you're going to log into the Vocabulary City dashboard, and then click on the Assignments tab. The next thing you'll do is create an assignment. So you'll click the Create Assignment button. Here you'll find a list of all of the lists that you've either imported or created. And so I'm going to choose the Earthquakes and Seismic Waves list that I created earlier. In this section, you can decide from up to 10 activities that you want to assign to your students. You can choose them by activity type and in this section here. So I for sure want them to study the words, and I want to for sure test them. I want them to know how to spell the words. I want them to know the meaning of the words. So for sure I'm going to choose those 4, and then you might decide whether or not they need the phonics practice, writing practice, or other language arts skills. I'm going to stick with these 4, and remember I can assign up to 10 activities in this assignment. All right, so for spelling, I want them to do the Teach Me. I want them to do a practice test, and I want them to do a spelling test for sure. So you can see all those over there, popping in there. Let's see. I want them to do this Speedy Speller and Hang Mouse. If you're not sure what something is, you can click the play button, and Spelling City will give you a preview of the activity. So Hang Mouse is a lot like
Hang Mouse. Will the mouse get a snap or will it not? Choose a letter and find out. J. R. J.
So you can see down here there's a sentence: measuring the shaking of an earthquake is done using a, and then they would have to come up with the letters. Trying to spell the word. Okay, so that gives you a little preview by clicking that play button. All right, so I liked that one. I'm going to add it in. You can change the order of things, so I'll probably put the spelling test at the bottom and the practice test after they've played the games. And then I'm going to move down and pick some vocabulary. So I want them to learn the meanings. So again, let's see, the first thing I want them to do is learn the meanings. So which word, definition, we'll try that one. And then we'll do a practice vocabulary test, and then I'll test them. Again, if I put these over here and wanted to rearrange, let's say I want to do the spelling test after they've done everything else, I can move those down, rearranging as needed. All right, the third section is the same thing. So test me kind of just brings up all the tests for that particular activities, those activities. And then study, spelling, teach me. I think we did all those. I think we added the word videos. Maybe I'll add word videos just to be sure that they've had enough studying. And then I'm going to go over here and just move that up there. Okay, so then I can save the assignment preset. If I think I might use this assignment over and over again, that type of all those same activities for another word list, then I can save it. So I'll just call it my first, because it's science, I'm going to say science, and it's my first assignment grouping. Click OK. And then click next at the bottom right. And then you can assign it to students. Now I only have 2 students in my group, in my class. You'll have more. So here's where you can either select all the students or just some of them. So I'm going to select all my students. I click next. And then I can add assignment details. So add instructions for your student, yes. Play the games. Take the practice tests and show your knowledge. So that can be any instructions you want for your student. Do you want students to complete activities in the order assigned? Yes, in this case, I do want them to. You may decide, no, it doesn't. That isn't a big deal. And then you can assign it at a particular date and make it do a particular date. So let's say we're having a test on Friday and I want them to know all that information. So I'm going to give them this week to complete these activities. And then I'm going to click finish. At this point, I can edit the assignment. So I'm going to add a title. This is the title that the kids will see. So I'm just going to call it my earthquake and seismic waves vocabulary. That's the assignment. Okay, I could edit the assignment. So if there's any details that I was unsure of, or I can just save it. When I save the assignment, it is assigned to the kids. So you can see, here's the assignment name. I have 2 students. Neither of them have started working. The start date is the 19th. The end date is the 22nd. Here I could add it to a group if I had created groups of students. That's where I can differentiate what lists go to which students. If I want to view the list to make sure it has everything on it that I want, I can click there. Otherwise, I am good to go. How are you feeling about creating assignments in Vocabulary Spelling City? If you need any help at all, please reach out. I'll be glad to work with you. Now it's your turn. Take some time to make sure you can log into Vocabulary Spelling City. Practice importing and creating your own lists. Create an assignment for your students. Most of all, have fun. thank you for watching this video on how to use vocabulary Spelling City. Remember, if you need any help or have any questions, please email me, or you can use Rainbow to contact me as well. Have a great day.